Offense wins highlights, but defense wins history. The NFL has seen countless explosive offenses over the years. Quarterbacks breaking records, receivers torching secondaries, and running backs leaving defenders in the dust. But every once in a while, a defense comes along that changes everything. A unit so dominant, so complete, that it doesn't just win games, it defines an era. Now imagine facing a defense so ruthless, it broke records and held teams to barely 10 points a game. Can you guess who they were? From the Steel Curtain of the 70s to the Legion of Boom in the 2010s, these defenses didn't just stop opponents, they crushed their will to compete. Here are the 10 most dominant defenses in NFL history. Let's start with the monsters who redefined defense in 1985, the Chicago Bears. Led by head coach Mike Ditka and defensive mastermind Buddy Ryan, this group introduced the NFL to the 4-6 defense, a system built on pure aggression. They didn't just aim to tackle, they aimed to destroy an offense's rhythm, confidence, and game plan. This defense swarmed the backfield, led by Hall of Famers Richard Dent and Mike Singletary. Richard Dent terrorized quarterbacks all season, tying for the league lead with 17 sacks. And right behind him was Mike Singletary, the heart of that defense, whose relentless energy earned him the Defensive Player of the Year award. That season, the Bears went 15-1 and allowed only 12.4 points per game. Their intimidating presence was backed up by their stats: 64 sacks and a league-leading 54 takeaways. The defense also famously featured massive defensive tackle William Refrigerator Perry, whose goal line touchdowns added to the team's swagger. In the playoffs, they were untouchable, recording back-to-back shutouts against the Giants and Rams. They capped off their season by crushing the New England Patriots 46-10 in Super Bowl 20, a game in which Dent was named MVP. The '85 Bears didn't just dominate, they redefined what defense meant in the NFL and became an iconic symbol of brute force excellence. The 2000 Baltimore Ravens were built on one simple rule: you don't score on us. This defense didn't rely on flash or fancy schemes. They relied on pain, pressure, and perfection. Led by Ray Lewis, the heartbeat of that team, the Ravens created one of the stingiest defenses ever seen. For the regular season, the Ravens allowed a record-low 165 total points, 10.3 points per game, and surrendered fewer than 1,000 rushing yards, with a measly 5 rushing touchdowns all season. Their front seven, featuring ferocious talents like Sam Adams, Tony Siragusa, and Peter Boulware, shut down plays before they could even develop, while Hall of Fame safety Rod Woodson patrolled the backfield. This incredible effort included 4 shutouts and a staggering 49 turnovers forced. And when the playoffs came, they became something even scarier. Over 4 games, the defense allowed just 23 total points, and 7 of those came on a kick return. They carried that momentum straight into a Super Bowl 35 win, where they held the New York Giants to 7 points in a 34-7 blowout. Lewis was named the Super Bowl MVP for his commanding performance. The 2000 Ravens weren't just dominant, they were impenetrable, a defensive wall that refused to crack, no matter who lined up across from them. By the mid-1970s, the NFL belonged to only one color: black and gold. The Pittsburgh Steelers Steel Curtain was more than a nickname, it was a warning. Coached by Chuck Nolan defensive coordinator Bud Carson, this defense was anchored by a fearsome group of Hall of Famers: defensive tackle Mean Joe Green, outside linebackers Jack Ham and Jack Lambert, and cornerback Mel Blount. They relentlessly punished opponents with ferocious hits and bone-rattling tackles. After an uncharacteristic 1-4 start to the 1976 season, something clicked. Quarterback Terry Bradshaw was injured, forcing the team to lean even more on its defense and a potent running game. The curtain dropped and offenses disappeared. Over the next 9 games, Pittsburgh allowed just 28 total points. It was an awe-inspiring performance that included 5 shutouts. This run remains one of the most dominant defensive stretches in NFL history. They finished the season allowing only 9.9 points per game, the lowest in the NFL that season, and forced 46 turnovers. The team's defensive intensity made quarterbacks nervous before the ball was even snapped. During that season, 8 defensive starters were named to the Pro Bowl. But injuries to their 1,000-yard running backs Franco Harris and Rocky Bleier ultimately stopped them short of another Super Bowl. The Steelers fell to the rival Raiders in the AFC Championship, but the Steel Curtain had already set a standard for toughness and defensive excellence that every defense since has tried to match. And while they ruled the 70s with brute force, the next defense on our list, the 2013 Seattle Seahawks, proved dominance could come from the air, not just the ground. The 2013 Seattle Seahawks, led by head coach Pete Carroll and defensive coordinator Dan Quinn, didn't just defend, they intimidated. They called themselves the Legion of Boom, LOB, a ferocious secondary so physical that wide receivers feared going across the middle. Anchored by All-Pros Richard Sherman, Cam Chancellor, and Earl Thomas, this unit turned passing into a high-risk gamble. The LOB also featured key players like defensive lineman Michael Bennett and Cliff Averill, who generated intense pressure. In 2013, the Seahawks defense dominated the NFL, leading the league by allowing just 14.4 points per game, giving up the fewest yards and forcing an impressive 39 takeaways. Their swagger matched their stats, and their bone-jarring hits and lockdown coverage made every interception feel inevitable. Their masterpiece came in Super Bowl 48 against Peyton Manning's record-breaking Broncos offense, the highest-scoring offense in NFL history. The Seahawks delivered a 43-8 beatdown, forcing 4 turnovers, including a pick-6 by linebacker Malcolm Smith.
When Manning is hit as he throws, Malcolm Smith with the pick, and it's a pick-6 for Malcolm Smith,
who was named MVP. They never let Denver find a rhythm, holding the high-powered offense to a single touchdown. The 2013 Seahawks proved that even in a league increasingly focused on offense, a great defense could still own the stage, backing up every word of their talk with unparalleled physical dominance. The 2002 Tampa Bay Buccaneers weren't just disciplined, they were engineered. Under head coach John Gruden and defensive coordinator Monty Kiffin, their defense perfected the Tampa 2 scheme, a zone system built on speed, awareness, and flawless execution. While the offense was inconsistent, this defense was an elite tactical masterpiece, making up for any shortcomings on the other side of the ball. At its core were Hall of Famers Derrick Brooks and Warren Sapp, along with the equally brilliant Rondé Barber and John Lynch, who patrolled the backfield like hawks. They didn't just overpower teams, they outsmarted them. Other key contributors included sack leader Simeon Rice, whose addition completed the defensive unit, and Super Bowl MVP Dexter Jackson. That season, Tampa Bay's defense ruled the league, finishing first in total defense, first against the pass, and holding opponents to just 12.3 points per game. They forced 38 turnovers and returned a staggering 5 interceptions for touchdowns during the regular season, setting a record for linebackers when Derrick Brooks scored 4 of them.
Derrick Brooks, who ran back 3 interceptions for touchdowns.
They also held opposing quarterbacks to a 48.4 passer rating. Their dominance climaxed in the postseason. After dispatching the 49ers and Eagles, they faced the league's top offense, the Oakland Raiders, in Super Bowl 37. In a stunning 48-21 victory, the Bucs defense, benefiting from Gruden's intimate knowledge of the Raiders' playbook, intercepted MVP quarterback Rich Gannon a Super Bowl record 5 times, returning 3 of them for touchdowns. The 2002 Buccaneers were a defense so well drilled it turned football into chess, proving that meticulous preparation and flawless execution could dismantle even the most explosive offenses. The 1986 Giants didn't just play defense. They bullied opponents for 4 quarters and stared them down as they tried to recover. Coached by Bill Parcells and defensive coordinator Bill Belichick, this defense was a beautiful example of the 3-4 scheme, built on a fearsome front 7. At its heart was Lawrence Taylor, arguably the most feared defensive player the league has ever seen. Nicknamed LT, Taylor was an unstoppable force who hunted quarterbacks rather than just chasing them. His speed and intensity were so transcendent that he earned the NFL MVP award that season, becoming one of only 2 defensive players in league history to receive that honor. Taylor amassed 20.5 sacks in his MVP campaign, demonstrating a rare dominance from the linebacker position. But it wasn't just Taylor. Hall of Fame linebacker Harry Carson and Carl Banks anchored the middle of the field, while Leonard Marshall led the defensive line. The team allowed just 14.8 points per game, and it was the second lowest in the league, while also leading the NFL with an incredible 59 sacks. Their physicality made running the ball feel pointless for opponents who were constantly under pressure. Their dominance intensified in the playoffs. They thoroughly dismantled Joe Montana's 49ers 49-3, shut out Washington's potent offense 17-0 in the NFC Championship, and then demolished John Elway's Broncos 39-20 in Super Bowl 21. The Giants' defense didn't just win, it reshaped what toughness meant in the NFC, leaving a blueprint of pressure and power that would echo through decades. If the 1986 Giants were power and discipline, the 1991 Eagles were pure chaos. They called themselves Gang Green, and that name fit perfectly, as this defense swarmed, suffocated, and destroyed everything in front of them. Though Buddy Ryan had been fired as head coach after the 1990 season, his defensive blueprint was perfected by coordinator Bud Carson. This defense functioned with ruthless, disciplined aggression. The Eagles' front seven was simply unfair. Anchored by Hall of Fame defensive end Reggie White, fellow defensive end Clyde Simmons, and defensive tackle Jerome Brown, they combined for 37.5 sacks and terrorized quarterbacks relentlessly. Behind them, linebackers Seth Joyner and Byron Evans cleaned up anything that slipped through, with cornerback Eric Allen locking down the secondary. The defense topped the league with 55 sacks, 48 takeaways, and just 3,549 yards allowed that season. They did all this despite losing quarterback Randall Cunningham to a season-ending ACL injury in Week 1, which crippled the offense and left the defense on the field constantly. The team's 10-6 record was a testament to the defense's ability to keep the team alive. While Gang Green never reached the Super Bowl to prove its historic greatness, its legacy is cemented in the minds of anyone who faced them. They were an unstoppable force that dominated every facet of the game, earning their place among the NFL's most legendary defenses. In 2015, the Denver Broncos won games not with flashy offense, but by choking out opponents with pure defensive suffocation. With Wade Phillips coordinating the defense, this was the no-fly zone, a secondary so airtight that quarterbacks often looked lost before halftime. The unit was loaded with talent, led by superstars Von Miller and DeMarcus Ware rushing the passer, and bolstered by an elite secondary featuring Aqib Talib, Chris Harris Jr., TJ Ward, and Darian Stewart. This defense erased entire game plans and forced an NFL-leading 52 sacks and 27 turnovers that season. Despite having one of the league's least productive offenses, which relied on an aging Peyton Manning and backup Brock Osweiler, the Broncos' defense consistently delivered game-winning performances. They led the NFL in total defense and pass defense, allowing a league-best 283.1 yards per game. Their Super Bowl run was the exclamation point on their dominance. They crushed Tom Brady's Patriots in the AFC Championship with relentless game-altering pressure, then completely dismantled the Carolina Panthers' high-flying offense in Super Bowl 50. They held MVP Cam Newton and the Panthers to just 10 points, forcing 4 turnovers and 7 sacks on their way to a 24-10 victory. This aggressive, perfectly coordinated defense hunted opponents like a pack of wolves closing in on their prey. By the end of that season, everyone knew Denver's defense wasn't just elite, it was legendary, carrying its team to a championship. Before nicknames like Legion of Boom, there were the Purple People Eaters, a Minnesota Vikings defensive line that made quarterbacks nervous before the snap. Their motto, "Meet at the quarterback," defined their aggressive play, making them a nightmare for offenses throughout the late 1960s and 1970s. Coached by Bud Grant, the Purple People Eaters were a relentless front four consisting of Hall of Famers Alan Page and Carl Eller, along with Gary Larson and the durable Jim Marshall. They didn't just pressure the quarterback, they owned the line of scrimmage with an aggressive style and exceptional teamwork. The dominance of this unit propelled the Vikings to 4 Super Bowl appearances, 4, 8, 9, and 11 between 1969 and 1976. From 1969 to 1976, they finished top 5 in points, allowed 6 times, and shut down some of the best offenses of their era. In 1971, Alan Page became the first defensive player ever to be named NFL MVP, a rare feat that underscored the unit's historic impact. While they never won a Super Bowl, their consistency and excellence were a testament to their strength. They weren't flashy or loud, they were just relentless, every single down. The Purple People Eaters set a standard for toughness and teamwork that helped define what a truly great defense looked like for generations to come. Before Tom Brady became the face of an unstoppable offense, the Patriots Dynasty was built on defense. In 2003 and 2004, Bill Belichick's unit was surgical, a masterclass in perfect execution and strategic flexibility. They didn't rely on a single superstar. Instead, they were a collection of smart, physical players who could adapt their game plan week to week. The defense was anchored by a group of Pro Bowlers and All-Pros, including linebacker Teddy Bruschi, defensive end Willie McGinnis, linebacker Mike Vrabel, safety Rodney Harrison, and cornerback Ty Law. This unit could shapeshift from an aggressive blitzing style to a sit-back and force mistakes approach, always dictating the terms of engagement. Over these 2 seasons, New England amassed a remarkable 34-4 record, culminating in back-to-back Super Bowl victories. Their defense was a model of consistency, ranking among the top in points allowed both years and giving up just 14.9 points per game in 2003. Their bend-but-never-break philosophy was defined by their opportunistic play, forcing 41 total turnovers in 2003 and 2004 combined. The Patriots' defense wasn't the fastest or the flashiest, but they were the smartest. They built a culture of discipline and trust that would be the foundation of the franchise's sustained success for the next decade. But what's most remarkable is not just what these defenses did, but what they represented. They were the spirit of their eras, some built on brute force, others on pure intellect. Each one left a mark on the game, proving that no matter how unstoppable an offense might seem, defense will always have a say. And that, more than any individual stat, is their true legacy. So if you had to line them all up, one game, one shot at glory, which defense are you taking? Let me know your pick in the comments.